So we're gonna go ahead and start with the Clemson Tigers real quick. Earlier this week, I actually, I was contemplating starting the last episode with Dabo's like press conference. Um, Thought about starting it with that, but then I was like, you know what? They're playing Syracuse. He's clearly like maybe he's got his mind, he's getting the ship right. He's got this figured out. They're gonna go on a 10-2 run or something. Um, Shame on me for assuming that, right? So so Dabo has this long monologue during the press conference. He goes something along the lines of, if Clemson is tired of winning, you can go ahead and send me to the beach. Something like that. But ultimately he's just gonna go get hired and start winning somewhere else. That's what he claims. He also mentioned he's only 55, and that's how old Nick Saban was when he started at Alabama, which, is that a foreshadow to something? We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a bit. So yesterday's 34-31 loss against Syracuse, I think that was just icing on the cake. The cake, which is at the end of the day an identity crisis. Like Clemson this year, what are they good at? What did they build? Like, what did they spend? What did they learn from last season? And what did they build this team around? That's a big question mark for me. On offense, their leading rusher is Adam Randall. Aaron, we saw Adam Randall last week at Georgia Tech, and we were like, wow, that guy, like, he's built in not a prototypical running back fashion. Okay,
Exactly.
so he was actually a wide receiver. I didn't know that. So their leading rusher is a wide receiver. That's what he was brought into Clemson to do. They only have one wide receiver, like a true wide receiver with touchdown catches so far this season, and that's Bryant Wesco Jr. Um, Yesterday against Syracuse, they went 4 for 18 on third and fourth down in total at home against Syracuse. They were penalized. They were penalized more than Syracuse again at home. Most of these penalties were against the defense, but I think all of this is just exemplifying a team that is not a team, not a football team. It's just a collection of humans playing football, which to me is ironic considering, Dabo's stance on the portal. He wants to build a team and not just bring in, mercenaries and stuff. So, on defense, which has been a huge strength of Clemson during their heyday, they're ranked somewhere in the 30s to 50s in opponents, points per game or yards per game. Um, During Clemson's, championship years, their defenses, which at the time were led by, Brent Venables, they were physical, disciplined, relentless. Tom Allen, the current, defensive coordinator, he was brought in to recapture that best is the standard mentality, but this team is just not it. They're really far from it. They're weak, they're disorderly, they seem aimless, kind of. Um, Before the season started, everything pointed to this Clemson team making a lot of adjustments, getting the ship back right, and getting back to the national championship, at least arena, to try and attempt, to win it. They were in that conversation, but clearly that ship has sunk. And you start to wonder if Dabo's attention is more so focused on getting him out of, little old Clemson, and onto a lifeboat that leads him to a more Crimson Tide.
Hmm.
Do you enjoy all the beach and water jokes there? I was put a lot of puns in that one.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's a really hot take right there.
he went, I think he played at Alabama.
Okay.
And so, yeah. And so the general online consensus is like, well, one, he was a little bit, he is one of the few, like, what, four coaches that has so much equity in their program that one or two bad years isn't gonna, phase the fan base or the boosters and stuff.
Mhm.
So I think this happened maybe a couple years too late. Like, I think if this was happening 2 years ago, Nick Saban would have called him for that job. That's my thought. But in any case, props to Fran Brown and this up and coming, Syracuse program. They won the game. And now Tennessee's win against them is looking even better now. LSU's win against Clemson is looking a little questionable, but um, Clemson had two turnovers. They had so many penalties, couldn't get first downs. And Steve Angeli was able to throw 244 yards and two touchdowns. Um, against them. So just tough going for the Clemson crowd and for the people that had to show up and watch that. Looking forward at Clemson's schedule. I mean, they do have UNC next week, so hopefully that's a win. The rest of their schedule is okay, but they still have to play Florida State, and they still have to play South Carolina. So, yes, I think they can be bowl eligible, but this is exactly what Dabo was talking about, right? Like how bad it was before him. It's looking pretty bad now.
Yeah. No, it's very, very interesting times right now to see Clemson not be a favorite in the ACC to win their conference. Like,
Not even a favorite, but just like a competent football team, right?
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
very true. Yeah. But yeah, shout out to Fran Brown and, the Syracuse